Greetings, friend. I am Marcus Barr of the Between the Covers podcast, and I just wanted to share that if it wasn't for the practical advice and training that Lori provided in her legacy coaching, my podcast would not be a reality right now. It was something that I always had on the back burner and would get to eventually, and yet it was an incredible experience to be able to learn how to do this. And Lori was an incredible coach in helping me to get here.
Has your life, your dreams been interrupted? Good news. It is possible to reinvent our lives. People are doing it every day, and some are brave enough to share the struggles, disappointments, and challenges. If you are looking for a new beginning, a do-over, or to rediscover your passion, maybe even find a new one, then grab a cup of coffee and let's talk. Interrupted, Act 2, Reinventing Your Legacy, with your host, Coach Lori.
I am so excited to welcome an author. I'm going to call him Stan for a very good reason. Welcome and tell us your name.
My name is Kagusthan Ariaratnam, but I go by Stan.
And believe me, I did try to pronounce it.
Yes, it's difficult to pronounce. A Hindu Indian background name, it's difficult to pronounce.
Definitely. And your book is called The Spy Tiger. Tell us the full name.
Spy Tiger, the O5 File.
Spy Tiger, the O5 File. Why don't you tell us what your book is about?
My book is about my memoir, that my life back home in Sri Lanka. For a long time, I wasn't the author of my own identity. My background as a former child soldier and intelligence operative meant my life was defined by a hard power, guns, intelligence, law, policing, and a designation that wasn't even my name. I want you to know that for years I was simply O5. That was the court name given to me by the Sri Lanka's Directorate of Military Intelligence. I felt like an instrument, a pawn used by others. My interrupted movement wasn't a single event, but profound shift that began with a melody. I remember the specific moment I heard the music of A.R. Rahman. It acted as a psychological catalyst, sparking a defection not just from group, but from the way of life. So I chose to build a non-profit known as Project O5, after my code name, on the foundation of the military designation to reclaim it. Today I co-founded this with my daughters, bridging the gap between the past of hard power and the future of soft power. I want you to see that you can take the labels used to diminish and to turn them into everything that empowers you as an act 2 of my life.
That is so amazing. And when you say you were just had a code name, so you had no identity, how hard was it to then I want to find out how you got away, but how hard was it to really start to discover who you were?
Well, it took a long time. I was a child soldier, as I said, and it was against my will. I was forcibly recruited by the Tamil Tigers. Eventually, I had to defect from the Tamil Tigers and surrender to the Sri Lankan government forces, where they used me to obliterate the Tamil Tigers once and for all. The silver lining of all this is they sent me to Canada with my family, not to start from scratch. I started from scratch, but not to live with peacefully, but to spy on my own community in Canada. That was even harder because it went against my moral and ethical beliefs that I had to work with my community and spy on them and report to Sri Lankan agencies, even Canadian Secret Service, Canadian Federal Police, and I had the currency with which I protected my family is information. I wasn't a paid informant. I was working to reclaim my identity, my citizenship, and my agency. I wanted to reclaim my future so that I don't have to be deported back to Sri Lanka for my involvement in the civil war with the LTT and the Sri Lanka's Directorate of Military Intelligence. CSIS gave me a choice that whether you cooperate with us or you go back. So I chose to cooperate, and eventually I got my Canadian citizenship, and I am privileged to live in Canada, a country that I cherish. Compared to Sri Lanka, it's like a paradise. It's snow and freezing weather, but peaceful, calm, relaxing, and you can study, you can work, get to determine your self determination. You realize your potential and you can do anything, the freedom. But in Sri Lanka, you don't have that freedom. You cannot do what you want to do. You have to do according to the rules of the governments and the military.
So how old were you when you were recruited?
I was 17 years old when I was recruited by the Tamil Tigers. I was born with 4 other siblings, 3 younger brothers and 1 older sister. And the Tamil Tigers had an arbitrary code of policy, that each family must contribute to 1 child from each family. And as the eldest son, I had to protect my siblings. Otherwise my younger brothers would be taken by force. So I went to war to protect my family and my brothers and my sister and my parents. So I was 17 years old.
How old were you when you finally you had that, where you realized you wanted to get out? How old were you when that happened?
That was in 1995, so I was 22 years old.
Okay. And how did you go about getting away and getting out?
During the tenure of my Tamil Tigers, I fell in love with another female cadre. So there was a strict code of conduct that you cannot have a romantic relationship within the Tamil Tigers, and it's punishable by death for having a romantic or sexual relationship.
Okay, hold on. You froze when you said, I fell in love with another female.
Yeah, I fell in love with another female cadre named Nala. And the Tamil Tigers, I broke the Tamil Tigers' arbitrary code of conduct by falling in love, because the romantic relationships are prohibited within the Tamil Tigers, and the punishment for this transgression is death. What happened was, while I was having a relationship, the Indian intelligence infiltrated the LTT, the Tamil Tigers, because the Tamil Tigers had assassinated the Indian Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi in 1991. After that, the India's Foreign Intelligence Research and Analysis Wing conducted a covert operation to dismantle the LTT leadership and bring the organization under their control. During this time, they sent a number of people to infiltrate the organization. One of the infiltrators, named Srinivasan, contacted me and blackmailed me using my relationship, the romantic relationship I had with the female cadre, saying that I will tell your superior if you don't cooperate with us. So I had no choice but to give intelligence to the Indians, and I started stealing information from the Tamil Tiger database, the intelligence database, because I was a naval intelligence officer overseeing Tamil Tigers' naval and aerial divisions. Tamil Tigers is the only terrorist group in the world who had the army, navy, rudimentary air force, police, tariff, court system, gold coin currency system. They had a de facto government.
You went to work with them?
After 3-4 years of infiltration and operation by the Indian intelligence, in 1994, there was a poison pen tip. Following a poison pen tip, they found out that there was a conspiracy going on by the Indian intelligence within the Tamil Tigers. They are trying to dismantle the leadership and take control of the organization. So the Tamil Tigers started investigating and arresting like 600 to 700 people. And they eventually found out that there was a covert operation by RAW, spearheaded by B. Raman, the India's top spy master, who eventually saved my life and sent me to Canada, by the way. LTT executed 260 people out of the 600 people. And some of them were released because they were Indian agents. Some of them were pardoned, and some of them were compromised. And I was one of them who confessed my betrayal at the end of my time with the Tamil Tigers. I confessed my betrayal. Tamil Tigers saw an opportunity that their organization were completely compromised, and there's nothing to hide, and they were in the brink of defeat because the raw Indian intelligence and the Sri Lankan intelligence together organizing an operation to capture the Jaffna Peninsula, the cultural capital of Tamils and the stronghold of the Tigers. So the Tigers knew that they couldn't defend when the Indians and Sri Lankan collaborate and advance into the Jaffna Peninsula. So they had to rethink their strategy, and there was a shift in their strategy. And I was the one who was picked among a couple of other people to infiltrate the Sri Lankan government forces. So that's how I ended up in the Sri Lankan government's hands. And once I went into the Sri Lankan government hands, I earnestly worked with the Sri Lankan agencies, Sri Lankan State Intelligence Agency, Sri Lankan Directorate of Military Intelligence, the police, CID, and I cooperated with everybody, the Naval Intelligence, Air Force Intelligence. Everybody came to speak with me, one after another. I was providing excessive amount of information. They couldn't even trust me. They had to sting me with the truth serum, antipsychotic kind of drugs, the truth serum to speak out of my mind. They want to get information, whatever I am telling, and I am unconscious. So they injected truth serum for me 3-4 weeks. I was unconscious, and I didn't know what I was telling. I was in a kind of coma kind of state. They was putting the lights, stinging my eyes. It's like irritating my eyes. I couldn't sleep. Finally, they concluded their interrogation. I don't know what I told them during that coma time. Eventually, I was spared and sent to Jaffna back to help the military with the information to dismantle the Tigers in Jaffna Peninsula. And I successfully helped them. Within 3 months, we captured the Jaffna Peninsula.
Oh, wow. Was your family at all in danger because of all that you were doing?
Of course. Before they sent me, they kept my family as a collateral. Even though my family was under the LTT control area, I knew that my life and my family's life was on the hands of the Tigers. So I had to rescue my family. So I constantly asked the military that I want to bring my family to the side of the military. The first, we captured a violent military hard power campaign. And then the second phase of the Operation Riviresa, Sunny Rays, it's a name translated in the English name as Sunny Rays. In that operation, advanced without firing a single bullet. Without single bullet, the army captured the Tenmarachi area. The Valiamam was captured by military shelling and bombing and everything. But the Tenmarachi was captured without firing a single bullet. All the civilians started coming back into the military control area because Tigers were forcibly evacuated the civilians from the army captured area, and we rounded up and cordoned off the entire area where the civilians were. So that's how I rescued my family with the help of the Sri Lankan generals. So that was the greatest achievement I ever did in my life, like defecting to the government, working with the government, bringing down the Tamil Tigers militarily. I did so many things when I was young. So that is the book that I wrote about the spy tiger, the O5 file. You should read it.
Yes.
This is my first book. I'm working on my second book. my Canadian experience, my Canadian life, my experience with the Canadian agencies, how fortunate and privileged to be living in one of the country foremost among many youth. Today, the world is polarized, and we see the world is divided into two, global south and global north, where the global south are living 5 billion people, 80% of the global population with 20% of the global resources, whereas global north only 1 billion or 1.5 billion, 2 billion, I mean, with 20% of the population living with the 80% of the global resources. Because of this, the world is out of balance. The symptom of this is the larger disease, which is the migration. Like the migration is happening from South America to North America, Africa to Europe, and India and China is horizontally dispersing, where Africa and South America is vertically dispersing towards Europe and North America. So today what we see in United States with the eyes and all these symptoms are the disease is the polarization and the division of the world. Poverty, powerlessness, homelessness, malnutrition, poorly education, nationalism, religious extremism, hatred, racism. These are the things fuel the war in the world. And that's why I chose to not to become the tool of an intelligence agency or military. Rather, I would like to set up, not like to set up, I already set up a non-profit which calls for global peace by addressing soft power means like arts, sports, music, photography, movies, intercultural communication, intercultural dialogue. A viable civil society can mitigate violence. Professor Joseph Nye, the Harvard scholar and political scientist who coined the term soft power, hard power, and smart power. And while the states, the nations fight with the hard power, with violence and terrorists, we cannot play the pipe in front of a bull. We can just go into Nigeria and in front of Boko Haram, I'm going to play music, let's fix your problem. It doesn't work. You have to eliminate the hardcore terrorist ideology with the hard power. At the same time, to sustain the peace that we achieved, to sustain it, we had to address the soft power. So we need a stick and carrot and stick policy, a soft power combined with the hard power, and which is Joseph Nye called smart power. That is the strategy for going forward. The American government should implement a soft power plus hard power combined as a smart power strategy to win the world politics if they want to come out on top.
Yeah. So is your nonprofit, is it reaching out globally, or like what's your parameters?
My parameters is locally, nationally, and globally. Okay. We work on all fronts. I'm working with the university students. They are my employees. I don't pay them. The government pays them. As a non-profit, every semester I get 3 students to work on my project through a project named RIPEN, RIIPE, and RIPEN program. It has like a 400 university around the world collaborating with RIPEN agency. The platform offers non-profit organizations, undergraduate and graduate students to work on the program. Last semester, they did a project market research, and this semester they are implementing the report that they produce. So I'm trying to expand my project to globally, with no money in my pocket. I only pay for the websites. I give my time voluntarily. I don't get paid. I'm also diagnosed with a mental illness. I suffer from PTSD, schizophrenia, bipolar, ADHD. Every psychiatrist I see, they diagnose me with different illnesses. I am on 15 different medication on a daily basis. These medications put me in sedation in the night. To unsedate me, I had to take another 6 medication in the morning. So it's very difficult, and I'm living on Canadian government assistance, and I'm a full-time student. I'm graduating this April with my undergraduate degree, and after that I have applied 4 or 5 universities, including University of St. Andrews, University of Calgary, University of Ottawa, Carleton University. So I'm going to continue my studies until I reach PhD level. At the same time, I'm working with the students and professors to advise me. University of Ottawa professors help me. University of Ottawa students help me. I find the student clubs are very helpful. The young students have the greatest ideas. The young people, the world global population is 51% of the global population is 30 years and under. These young people are grown in stature but not in maturity. They are highly suggestible. They can be easily molded into anything the terrorists or the criminal agencies want them to be. So we have to provide them an outlet. The young generation doesn't have enough outlet. That is why I am proposing an after-school program and extracurricular activities and soft power avenues like art, sports, culture, music, filmmaking, photography, poems, speeches, and you have to introduce your culture to the Western culture. The Western culture should know the Eastern culture, or the African culture, or the Chinese culture, or the Indian culture, or the Russian culture. We have to get to know each other. The world has to come together as one unified system.
I'm sitting here amazed as you're speaking because you have PTSD, your child soldier, recruited against your will, basically. And then you've done all these amazing things, and you could easily just sit back and do nothing. And yet you're saying, I'm starting a nonprofit. We're going to change the world, and we're going to do it it was a song that came to you, and now you're incorporating the arts into that. And I just think that is so incredible that you continue to move forward, even though you still have struggles in a different way.
Yes, I believe in the philosophy of Mahatma Gandhi. He said that be the change that you want to see in the world. That is one of my philosophy. Then as I came to Canada and read the literature of the world leaders, and I was amazed by Nelson Mandela saying the education is the most powerful weapon which you can choose to change the world. I had a public speaking class. Right now I am taking from January to April, and I spoke in front of my 50 other classmates, and I told them why I am choosing post-secondary education when I am at 50. I explained to them because we should not take it for granted. Sometimes our youth, they don't appreciate what is the country has to offer. Education is not a privilege, it is a right, everyone's right. I reminded them on my public speaking first speech that the education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world, according to Nelson Mandela. I was amazed by these scholars and these forefathers or founders. Another quote I was amazed by is Professor Joseph Nye, who coined the term soft power. He said, the American decision makers and the leader of the free world should apply soft power and hard power and combine together as a smart power. I thought that's a brilliant idea because my own personal life, I saw that as a child soldier, while I was living in the midst of war, the Indian music composer A.R. Rahman revolutionized India's music industry by fusing Eastern and Western music and he created a beautiful music albums, starting from Roja, Bombay, Kadalan, and Anjali Duet, and there are so many albums, one after another, mind-blowing albums. I started listening to this music, and it was more powerful. Spoke to me about camaraderie, friendship, brotherhood, love, and romance, and melodies, more powerful than the deliberate ideological brainwashing of the Tamil Tigers. So this made me internalize the South Indian popular culture, and I was indoctrinated by the music of A.R. Rahman and Dr. Ilayaraja. So I believe that the music is so powerful. I also read that the Beatles' music was used to undermine the idea of communism and infiltrated the iron curtains of the Soviet Union during the Cold War. The Beatles' music is used to undermine the idea of communism. So imagine that if Beatles' music can undermine the idea of communism in the Russians' Iron Curtain, what we can do with this music to the other part of the world, like it doesn't mean that Taylor Swift and Lady Gaga should compose music. I mean, the local cultural music is more powerful than any other totalitarian or authoritarian ideology. That's what I'm trying to say. Music is powerful. I want to utilize this music and arts, sports, culture, intercultural dialogue, intercultural communication, so that we can fight racism, hate, the feeling of otherness, the young generation living in a filter bubble, an echo chamber, because everybody is today living in a digital information age. We consume the social media, internet, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, and whatnot. So because of this, the big tech companies tailored the social media and algorithmically editing each individual being tailored to see certain things that they're supposed to see. Doesn't necessarily mean that what we want to see, but they want you to see. It is called echo chambers and filter bubble. So we had to break this filter bubble and expose the kids, the culture of Eastern culture to Western kids, Western culture to Eastern kids, to unify the world, because world is in the brink of collapsing. Every day we are seeing a new global order. Every day the world is changing. I was heartbroken by the Tumblr Ridge shooting in Canada. I don't know if you heard last week. I don't know why one person choose to go in that path. So we had to reach out to these younger generation in their own terms.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. Now, if somebody wants to go to your website, where do they go?
www.project05.ca, all letters, project O5FIVE.ca.
Okay. And if we want your book, again, it's called
Spy Tiger, the O5 File, Child Soldier turned Double Agent. It's available on Amazon.
So before we go, this has been so amazing to talk to you and to hear your heart after all you've been through. But before we go, what is it that I feel like you've already told us this with music, but what is it you really want us to know?
The world need to know that one person can make a difference. You don't need to be having a title as a leader to lead people. You can inspire people with bottom up. Ordinary civilian can make a difference, like a civil society. A viable civil society can help mitigate violence and peaceful, pluralistic world as a one society. That's what I want. Everybody should need to play a role as global citizens. We are in a global citizen. Marshall McLuhan coined the term global village in 1960s. He said globe is going to converge as one system because of communication technologies. Today we are living in that world. In that world, everybody can make a difference. A single child can make a difference. In YouTube, children videos reach many far more than presidents and prime ministers, sometimes. So it is a world where a child can make a difference, one person can make a difference. So that's what I want the world to know. Everybody should get involved and reach our potential and make a peaceful, just world.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Laurie.
If you love this podcast, here's a big ask. Will you share with your friends and family, subscribe, give us a review, and a 5-star rating so that others looking to reinvent their lives will be able to get the help they're looking for? Thank you in advance.